We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Vav Amid Beis in Meseches Gitin. This is Gittin Daf 36b. On the previous summit, the Gemara was discussing the institution of Prusbul, and the Gemara asked, how could it be that on a Doraisa level, Shemitah cancels the loans, and Prusbul comes along, and the Rabbanan come along and they say that the loan is not canceled? And the Gemara answered that Prusbul was instituted specifically Bisman Hazeh, when on a Doraisa level, Shemitah doesn't actually cancel the loan. Shemitah is only canceling the loan on a Rabbanan level, and that's why Prusbul is effective to stop Shemitah from canceling the loan. As the Gemara now continues, V'takinu Rabbanan de Tishman, it's the Rabbanan who say that Shemitah cancels loans, Bisman Hazeh, Zecher l'Shvius, that's in commemoration of Shvius, as Rashi says, Shelo Tishtakach Torah Shvius, so that the laws of Shvius should not be forgotten. But then Hillel saw that people were refraining from lending to one another, Amad v'hiskin Prusbul, so he got up and he instituted Prusbul. But the Gemara still asks, but is it possible that on a Doraisa level Shemitah does not cancel the loans? Bisman Hazeh, V'takinu Rabbanan de Tishman, and then the Rabbanan, as a Zecher l'Shvius, they're going to institute that the loan is canceled. Amar Abaya says, Shevi al Tasu, that's just a Shevi al Tasa. In other words, what the Rabbanan are doing in this situation is the Rabbanan are saying that the loan is canceled and therefore do nothing, do not collect. That the Rabbanan are able to do. Rashi says, Shevi al Tasa v'halova hazeh shev uvatel ve'eno osa ha-mitzvah l'froes chovo. Simply put, the borrower just sits and does nothing and does not do the mitzvah of paying off his debt. Therefore, they're not really uprooting in any active sense. In a situation of Shevi al Tasa, it's mutter for the Rabbanan to uproot something in the Torah. Kagon shofar v'lulav v'domein b'yavamas b'yisharabah. There are examples of this in Yavamas. The lo akira b'yadayim. It's not as long as they're not actively uprooting something from the Torah. As long as it's Shevi al Tasa, then it is okay. Rava says a different answer. Hefker, Bezdin, Hefker, that the Rabbanan do have this power by monetary issues, because whatever Bezdin declares ownerless is ownerless. Rashi explains, Rava Amar Liolam Bein LeRabbanan de Pligi ad Rebbe. Even according to the Rabbanan who argue on Rebbe, V'yamri Shvius LaShmatas Milva Bisman Hazeh Doraisa, and they say that Shemitah cancels loans nowadays on a Doraisa level. V'takin Hillel de Lo Tishman, and then Hillel comes along and says it shouldn't cancel. Or the other way, Bein LeRebbe, whether you're going according to Rebbe. D'Amar Lav Doraisa, who says that Shemitah does not cancel on a Doraisa level Bisman Hazeh. V'yamar Rabbanan de Tishman, and it's the Rabbanan who come along and say the loan is canceled. Lo Tikshi Midi, it's not a question at all. To be davar shebemammon, because when you're talking about monetary issues, ein kan akiras davar min haTorah, that's not called uprooting something from the Torah. But b'makom siog v'geder, in a situation where they're trying to construct a fence, so to speak, around the Torah, to hefker bezdin b'mammon hefker, because when bezdin declares something ownerless by monetary issues, that is considered to be ownerless. And the Gemara now brings the source for Hefker, Bezdin, Hefker, the Yamar Rabbi Yitzchak, because Rabbi Yitzchak says, Minayin shehefker, Bezdin, Hefker. From where do we know that Hefker, Bezdin, Hefker, shenemar, like it says in the Pasuk, V'chol asher lo yavo l'shloshas hayomim, ka'atzas hasarim v'hazakenim yocharam kol rechusho, v'u yibadal mikal agol. It says anyone who didn't come within the 3 days, so all of his property would be forfeited. You see from here the idea of the authority of Bezdin, of Hefker, Bezdin, Hefker. Rabbi Eliezer Amar Mehacha, Rabbi Eliezer says from over here, the previous source we should say is from Sefer Ezra. Rabbi Eliezer says from the following source, from the following pasuk in Sefer Yoshua, Eila hanachalos asher nachlu Elazar hakohen v'Yoshua bin Nun v'Rashi Avos v'Gomer. It talks about the nechalos, it talks about the inheritances, the distribution of the land, and it's talking about the heads, the head of the people, and it's talking about the fathers. And what's the comparison? V'chimanyin Rasha Meitzel Avos. How are we comparing the leaders to the fathers? Lomar lach, to tell you as follows: Ma'avos manchilin as benehem kol mashayir. So just like fathers, they give over as an inheritance to their children whatever they want. Af Roshim, so to the leaders of the people, meaning to say Bezdin manchilin ha'am kol mashayir. So they also are able to give over to the people for inheritance. That's the idea of Hefker, Bezdin, Hefker. And the Gemara continues, they had the following question, Ki hiskin Hillel Prusbul, L'dori hu detaken, Odilma l'dori almanami taken. When Hillel instituted Prusbul, did he do it just for his generation, or did he do it for future generations as well? And the Gemara says, Lamai nafkamina, what's the difference? Levatule, let's say we want to nullify Prusbul, are we able to do that? Iamrit l'dori hu detaken mivatalinan. If you say that he just did it for his generation, and it's just something that we kept going, but he didn't institute it, that it should be forever, so then mivatalinan, then we'd be allowed to nullify it. But if you say that he instituted it for future generations, the halacha ein bezdin yachol levatel divrei bezdin chavero. One court is not able to nullify the words of another court, unless it's greater than that court in wisdom and in number, and therefore we wouldn't just be able to, anytime we wanted to, we wouldn't be able to nullify prusbul. And the Gemara says, Mai, so what is the halacha in terms of prusbul? Again, was it just for his generation, or was it for all generations? Tashma, come in here the following proof. The Amar Shmuel, because Shmuel said, "Lo kasvinon prusbul ela ibe beidina de surah, ibe beidina de nahardai." We don't write a prusbul except if you're in the court of surah or in the court of nahardai. Not any bezdin can write a prusbul. Now, if you think that Hillel instituted prusbul even for future generations, b'shar beidina nami lechtevu, so it should be able to be written in any other court also. Why only these two courts? But the Gemara answers to that, Dilma maybe Kitake Hillel, when Hillel instituted prusbul, Ladari Alma, maybe it was forever. But Kagon, Beidino Didei, Uchiravami, Uchiravasi, Dalimi Lafkoi Mamona, but it had to be a court like his court, or a court like Ravami and Ravasi that are strong enough to take away money, Avalakuli Almalo, but that any court should be able to do it, maybe it wasn't instituted in that sense. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here, another proof, the Yomar Shmuel, because Shmuel says, Ha prusbula ulbina de dainihu. Shmuel said that prusbula is an ulbina of the dayanim. Rashi says, ulbina de dainihu, l'kamon mefarish. This term will be explained later on. Lashon chutzpah, it's a language of chutzpah. Shenot l'mamun shelo kedin mechazaka, that people are now taking away money, and it's really unlawful. They're taking it away using their strength. So he said something negative about the prusbul. It's an ulbina de dainihu. It's a chutzpah of the judges. If I was strong enough, avat line, then I would nullify the concept of prusbul. So the Gemara says, avat line, I would nullify it. V'ayin bezin yachol levatel, divrei bezin chavero, elim ken gadol heimenu b'chachmo v'minyan. But one court can't nullify the words of another court unless that court is greater in wisdom and in number. And so therefore it seems from here that he did not institute it forever, because how would it be possible that Shmuel could nullify it? And the Gemara answers, no, Hachli Kamar, here's what Shmuel was saying. If I was stronger than Hillel, exactly that point. If I had a court that was greater than Hillel's court, avatline, so then I would nullify it. And the Gemara continues, Rav Nachman Amar, Rav Nachman says, Akaimina, on the contrary, I would uphold the idea of prusbul. The Gemara says, Akaimeno, Hamakayim V'koy. What do you mean I would uphold it? It's already upheld. And the Gemara says, Hachi Kamar, this is what it means to say. Ema Bei Milsa, I would say something about it, the Afagav de Lo Kosev, that even though it's not written, meaning even if you don't write a prusbul, Kikosev Dami, it's as if it's automatically written. I would want to set up prusbul in a way that you don't have to actually write out the document. Rashi says, Ema Bei Milsa Oshev Bezin, I would set up a Bezin, V'yaskin Destam Malvin, you can most restore saying LeBezin, and I would make an institution that anyone who lends money automatically, it's as if they've given their staros over to Bezdin, V'yafagav de Lo Kosev, and the Havik Moshe Kosev. Even if the prusbul wasn't written up, it would be as if it was written up. And the Gemara continues, they had the following question. Hi ulbina, what is this word ulbina? Lishna de chutzpah, is it a language of chutzpah? Rashi already said that it's a language of chutzpah, that this would be discussed later on. This is where the Gemara is discussing it. O lishna de nichusahu, or the other possible interpretation of the word ulbina is it's a language of convenience. Rashi explains, it was made so that the judges, it was made for the judges' convenience. That way they don't have to bother to collect all these loans before Shemitah year. If you didn't have prusbul, then the courts would constantly be taking care of loans before every Shemitah year would come along. Everybody would want to make sure that Shvias doesn't come along and cancel the loan. Therefore, that could be what it means. That's why if I had the strength, I would be mevatel. It's only being done for the convenience of the judges. So which is the explanation, the proper explanation of the word ulbina? And the Gemara continues, Tashma, coming here the following proof. The Yomar Ula, because Ula said, Aluva kala shezinsa b'kerev chupasa. It's a chutzpah when the kala commits an act of znus at the time of her chuppah. Rashi says, Aluva chatzufa, again from a language of chutzpah. We see here it's a language of chutzpah. Shezinsa b'kerev chupasa. B'yod shchina v'Yisrael b'Sinai. What this is actually referring to is it's referring to the sin of the Egel Hazav while the Shechina and Klal Yisrael were at Sinai. Also, as a egel, that's when they did the sin of the egel hazov. Sharelo nasu miSinai ad la'achar hakamas hamishkan, because they didn't leave Sinai until after the putting up of the Mishkan b'shana shni in the second year. K'dichsiv vayihi b'shana hashenis b'chodesh hasheni, like it says in the second year, in the second month. Vayusu b'nei Yisrael l'maseim mimidbar Sinai. So you see over here in this statement of Ula aluva kala shezinsa that the word aluva is being used as a language of chutzpah. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Mori Brod Bas Shmuel. Rav Mori, the son of the daughter of Shmuel, said, Mikra, Where do we see this in the pasuk? Rashi says, "Ma'ikra diyesh lidrosh aleim kala mizana b'chupasa." Where do we see in the pasuk this idea that we can darshan about Klal Yisrael at the time of the Egel Hazav, that they are like a kala that's mizana at the time of her chuppah? And the Gemara brings a pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Ad Melech b'mesiba, while the king is celebrating, Ner di nasan recho, so the perfume, it gives forth its fragrance. Rashi says, b'mesiba b'chupasa, again it means at the time of the chuppah, at the time of the celebration. Ner di nasan recho means bosme ozav recho atov. It means the perfume, so to speak, of Klal Yisrael, it no longer has a good smell. Kemo v'lo nasan sichon es Yisrael. The word nasan over here is similar to the way the word nasan is used in the pasuk, v'lo nasan sichon es Yisrael, sending forth, meaning the fragrance that's being sent forth is no longer a good fragrance. Amar Rav, and Rava says, Adayin chavivusu gabon. This pasuk, it still has some elements showing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves Klal Yisrael. Tichsiv nasan, because the pasuk says nasan v'lo ksiv hisriach. It doesn't say that it was like a foul odor, so that is a nice way to refer to Klal Yisrael. It shows that there was still some love between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. Rashi says, Adayin chavivusu gabon afapi shehizkir kilkulein. Even though this pasuk is saying something negative about Klal Yisrael, lo hiskir ela b'maris chiba de lo ksiv hisriach, but it's still written in a nice way because it doesn't use the word hisriach, which would have a more negative connotation. And in any case, that's what you see over here. This is a comparison. Klal Yisrael at the time of the Egel Hazav is being compared to the time of the chuppah, so to speak, that the kala does this kind of act of zunus. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Hanel lovin ve'enan olvim, those who are insulted, but they don't insult back. Shomen cherpas, and they hear their own shame, ve'en meshivin, but they don't respond. Osen me'ahava, they do out of love, usmechen be'yisurin, and they're happy, they rejoice, even though it's a time of yisurin, even though it's a time of affliction. Alein hakasav omer, it's about them that the pasuk says, v'yohavav, kitseis hashemesh b'gvuraso, those that love him is like the sun coming out in its might. Rashi explains, Hanelovim Garcinan Osan Shenelovim Miaracherim, they're insulted by others, Vein Olvim Esacherim, but they don't insult others. Osan Mitzvahs Meahavas Hamakom, they do mitzvahs out of love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'lo litol schar, not to take reward, V'lo miyiras puranos, and not because they're afraid of punishment. And the Gemara continues, my pruzbul, what is pruzbul, meaning what is the word pruzbul, where does it come from? Amar Rav Chisda says, it means as follows, pros buli ubuti. Rashi says pros is a takana. It's an institution of the buli and the buti, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph.